Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. We're on album number 8, which is Burnt Weeny Sandwich. An odd time, really, because obviously Zappa was touring with a new band. It wasn't quite the Hot Rats band, it was a new band, which we'll talk about another time. But whilst this band was touring, we saw posthumous Mothers album releases, which is a strange thing to do. But given the quality of the material, I'm not surprised, it's very good. It's a good example of Zappa thinking more sort of musically rather than commercially, because obviously you're hearing the new band playing material they're not used to, and you're hearing the Mothers towards the end of their existence, and they're some of their best playing from their whole existence. So, you know, that band were put under unfair pressure, really. But these are great albums, there's 2 of them. This is the first one. Horrific cover, horrible. However, the content is fantastic. Sandwiched by 2 songs, this is mostly written stuff, this is mostly composed stuff that's been played, and we have a couple of jam things as well in there, but overwhelmingly instrumental, which I think is a good thing. The album starts with WPLJ, White Port and Lemonade Juice. It's actually a cover, a nice bit of doo-wop, and why not? It's great. Track 2 though is Igor's Boogie, obviously some more Stravinsky influenced stuff. I don't believe there's actual references in there, it's just Stravinsky influenced, and that's phase 1 of Igor's Boogie. We get 2 bits of that. So that's pretty cool. Then we get Overture to Holiday in Berlin, which is named after a famous incident during a European tour in Berlin where he played a concert to quite a sort of anarchic crowd who were very politically active, but were quite disappointed to see Zappa didn't necessarily share their views. He had a much more sophisticated view of the world, and it got pretty ugly. And the police had to stop it in the end. Apparently there was chants from the crowd, and so the band played a sort of Nazi march to the chant to make them sound like Nazis, which is a great example of Zappa's ability to use satire, you know. The actual music here, Overture to a Holiday in Berlin, is from a piece he wrote for a film score in 1962 or 61 called Run Home Slow. And for that reason it doesn't seem to match that incident at all, or maybe there's a kind of a silliness to it, making the situation look ridiculous, maybe, I don't know. Then we have theme from Burnt Weeny Sandwich. This is kind of a jam, so kind of a Hot Rats kind of thing, but rather than it going places with solos and things, it doesn't really kind of go anywhere. There's various bits of percussion going on, but it's very much a down the line, this is what is happening, with a bit of wide guitar, and it just goes. It's one of the longer tracks, which you could argue the pros and cons of, but that's okay. Then we're back to Igor's Boogie again, phase 2. I think Igor's Boogie is probably the strongest thing on this album, because he really got into the sort of what is now recognised as the classic Zappa melody writing, even if he didn't necessarily have the band to really pull it off yet. This stuff is fantastic. Then we're on to Holiday in Berlin Full Blown, which is of course a new written piece, written between 67 and 69, I don't know when. And you see the difference between Overture in Holiday in Berlin and Holiday in Berlin Full Blown. You see the development in his compositional skills in that decade. So part 2 is really very special. There's some great little things in there. Brilliant. Track 7, I think it's pronounced Aybe Sea. Humorous title, it's quite short. I think it's important not to dismiss the very short compositions he's made. I mean, like Naval Aviation in Art, a bit of a masterpiece actually. I really like it. Not as good as Navigation in Art, but more proggy. It sounds recognisably proggy, which is interesting. As does the next track, The Little House I Used to Live In, developed from something called The Return of the Hunchback Duke. I do remember as soon as I heard that, it made me think of Return of the Thin White Duke, but it's nothing to do with that really. It's 20 minutes long, 21 minutes 52. The written piece isn't anything like that long. It is a jamming thing. There's I think Don Preston on organ, I think there's Sugarcane Harris on violin, and I believe Zappa on organ as well, jamming away. So that's great. It's not really a 20-minute composition though, it is a jam. And you get the immortal recording at the end of the piece of a concert with someone at the back shouting, "Get the suits out of here," or something, "Get the uniforms out of here." And Zappa's brilliant retort about everyone's wearing a uniform. And the album closes with Valarie, which is another fantastic bit of doo-wop. I think stronger than the cover at the start of the album. Possibly one of my favourite doo-wop songs he's done. Brilliant. Not as good as the later versions of Love of My Life, but really good. I love that kind of thing. See you next time.